Welcome to What's the Effort?
What the F?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of What the Effie. If you can believe it, we are at episode 31. So I'm super excited about that. And today I have a very special guest. His name is Travis Goodwin. And I have very much been looking forward to him coming on. I got to know Travis as a Gator. Hi, Melissa. Melissa says, Happy Monday. All right. Thank you for being here. So, I want to start us off by talking a little bit, Travis, about where you came from. We know that you're in real estate because this program is mostly about real estate. And that part is not a surprise. But I'd really like to know a little bit about what was your life like before you entered real estate.
Awesome. Yeah. First of all, I just want to thank you for bringing me on here, Effie. It's always a pleasure to talk with you and see your face.
Thank you.
Now, as far as, my background, what I was doing before real estate is I'm from West Virginia. So I wasn't doing much because there's not much to do here. Delivering pizzas, working seasonal at stocking at Dollar Tree, things like that. But my life was pretty boring before real estate.
So West Virginia is not a super exciting place to be?
No, not a lot of opportunity here. You have to kind of create your own opportunity. We come from the coal industry, and there's not much industry in coal in this day and age. And West Virginia has a hard time at progressing and advancing quickly and pivoting. And West Virginia's just never been able to pivot from the coal industry.
Okay. So talk to us a little bit about what you first decided to do. How did you find real estate?
Yes. So I had a very good friend that passed away. His name was Chris Moore. One day we were talking because he knew the type of, the way that I thought. And he said, Travis, I'm reading a book, you have to read it, which was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that book, changed my life. At least the way that I was thinking, it changed my life at the time. So I started to just get onto YouTube, and that's when I found wholesaling. So that's how I kind of got into real estate. Like, I have no housing background. I knew nothing about repair costs or anything to do with housing besides the fact that I lived in a house. That was my only knowledge.
Okay. So did you come straight into sub two, or what did you do?
No, so I was, being here in West Virginia, there's not a lot of people who were wanting to wholesale or were wholesaling. So I was learning on my own for about 6 months. During that 6 months, I had a really difficult time, but I was always good at reaching out to people. And luckily I had reached out to somebody who owned a flip company, and I seen that they had an acquisition manager position opened. So I went over, did a little interview with them, and got the position. So that's really what got me going in real estate. It wasn't a mentorship per se. It was just working with people who were already doing deals.
And how did that go?
It went really good. I had a lot of experience from it, and I gained a lot of confidence because I had cash buyers that I knew were going to purchase. So that helped a lot. Within a month so 6 months by myself, there was nothing to show for it really, just a couple of connections. 1 month working with them, I was getting contracts for them.
Nice. So again, to this lesson of squatting up, right?
Yeah.
Of working with people.
Yes.
Okay. Very interesting. And I'd like to ask you about something because it had been pointed out to me, but I was kind of curious about what's this about?
Oh yeah. That's
What
me and
is
my
that?
guy Brent Daniels right there. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So he was interviewing you?
Yes, I'm a part of TTP, Talk to People Wholesaling Inc., which is, Brent's mentorship coaching program. I joined it for the community, and I had a lot of problems I was dealing with scaling my business. So I joined up with Brent, you know, I deep dived into his whole course and mentorship, and, I ended up on there. So,
So, so then this man is instrumental to you actually doing something in real estate.
oh yeah, definitely. Brent is a great guy, and if anybody who's having trouble talking to people and getting on the phone, that's your guy that you need to talk to. You need to talk to Brent.
What's the difference between TTP and Gator? Because I know you're in Gator. That's how you and I met
Okay.
initially.
So Gator is more for, people who want to pretty much baby money lenders, in my opinion, earnest money, transactional funding, people who want to get going with the lending side of the business,
Hmm.
while Brent is typically for finding discounted properties, talking to motivated sellers, and learning how to wholesale and generate leads.
Okay. So then you were doing both Gator and wholesaling at one point?
Well, I joined the Gator program just to learn more, but I have never actually done anything Gator. I've never
Okay.
done just building lines of credit. But yeah, wholesaling's my love.
Nice. Nice. All right. So you started wholesaling. You were doing a fair amount on this team. How did you move forward? Are you still with the team? What's going on?
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not with that team anymore. So what happened was COVID happened, right? So when COVID happened, they're primarily a flipping business. So they kind of had to pivot a little bit. We weren't able to go on appointments as much. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I started to look into virtual wholesaling. So that's when I ran a bunch of online ads, and I got a weird random lead in a little place in Ohio. Didn't think anything of it. I really pushed the seller away. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I don't, like, leave me alone. She kept messaging me. The seller kept messaging me. And I ended up just, reaching out to someone in that area, and they were like, let's see what we can do. And we ended up making $10,000 off of it.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that started my actual wholesaling business. That's when I decided to leave the guys that that were flipping, saying, "Hey, I'd like to still, you guys can still be buyers. I want to still keep working with you guys, but I want to do my own thing."
Got it. And off you went. Was it all virtual?
No, I do virtual deals, but I also do deals in my backyard in West Virginia.
Okay. And how do you find them?
I like to do a lot of online ads currently.
Okay.
We do PPC, SEO, we have a Google My Business, and I would recommend anyone that has a business license, if they don't, it's free. Go to Google and start a Google My Business, because I get leads just from that, and it's free. Um,
Okay.
and I also do cold calling. So, but I only cold calling the small niche lists like probates. Those are my favorite. And I do a little cold calling, but mostly, online ads and some direct mail. Because
So talk a little bit about cold calling probates.
okay, well, I treat it just like I would any other type of lead. I don't call and say, "Hey, I know that this is a probate," or "I know that your loved one passed." I'm just calling because I'm interested in buying property in that area, and that house just so happened to be in that area. So I'm just seeing if they have any plans or interest in selling anytime in the future. That's how I present myself when I call. And I just, sorry for any inconvenience. I'm sorry for bothering you, but I am interested.
And then from there, because they happen to be in probate, it's more likely that they'll probably talk.
Yes, they're either going to tell me we're keeping the house or they're selling the house. And it's a longer process. So as most people know, a lot of this business is follow up. It's following up with someone for a long period of time. With probate, it's a little longer than average. It can take because not only is there a probate process depending on your state, like my state, it's a 60-day process. That
Okay.
60 days ends up taking longer. And then once it's over, you have the emotional aspect of the probate deal where they might not be ready yet. So it could take 5 years even for them to finally make the decision to sell grandma's property or their mother's property. So you just have to really be sentimental about it and patient.
Got it. So you're in for the long game on those ones.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. And Amy is giving you her approval. She said,
Thank you, Amy.
strategy, Travis. And Amy is a very smart cookie. She's very smart. She's very aggressive. She's really personable. So actually, any compliment coming from her is really a compliment. But anyhow, so how else are you approaching? Because you went a little bit quick for me. You said you're doing your probates for cold calling, and you did your advertising, and that's basically how you come in touch with most of the wholesale.
Yes, yes. And also you get some that's referrals, people I've done deals with before, people who know me, just message me on Facebook. Facebook's very powerful. And I advise everyone to put themselves out there, post, and even if it's just in groups that tell people what you're doing.
Speaking of Facebook, if you want to get in touch with Travis, there he is, Travis Goodwin .319 question mark blah blah blah. I actually will take that and I will drop it into the chat so that if anybody wishes to reach out, they can. And tell me, I agree with you. I think that Facebook is very, very powerful indeed. And they will reach out to you. Just like they'll reach out to you from this, Travis. And I expect a commission. I'm just kidding. But I am interested in knowing a little bit more about how much of your business comes from which avenue.
Okay, so at this point in time, the probates and the cold calling is my least favorite or my
Okay.
least producing for deals. I do it because it's available to me through the courthouse, and I know there's still people I can help. But my number one strategy is my PPC, my online generation. And typically it's 1 out of 15 leads I'm closing.
Oh, that's pretty good ratio, isn't it?
I think so. It could be better, but I'm happy with it. I'm not complaining.
Very
Um,
nice. Very
with
nice.
with cold calling, I have to go through a lot more people. Um, Usually with the online leads, they're ready to come to you. They're ready
Yeah,
usually.
because they're reaching out.
Yeah.
What are you using for a CRM, and what are you using for lists? Where do you get your lists? Where do you get your, how are you managing this?
Okay. So my probate lists, I am getting from the county. Like I'm
Mhm.
getting it directly from the county.
Yep.
If I do any other list, like if I'm pulling a land list, something like that, PropStream is what I'm using.
Okay.
Um, and I have Podio.
Okay.
That's where I keep most of my leads and keep all my tasks set. But I also do have Deal Machine for my direct mail.
Okay. How much direct mail do you do?
Not a lot. Most of my direct mail are from my probates that I cannot reach by phone.
Okay. Does
So
it
I'll
pay for
get,
itself?
what is it?
Does it pay for itself? Is it worth having?
Oh, yeah, I love direct mail.
Okay.
Direct mail, I prefer leads calling me. That's what I prefer. And direct mail always, works for that. I've been doing mail since I got started. My first contract I ever did was a Deal Machine postcard. So I just feel why change it.
Yeah, it is nice when they're reaching out to you.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you don't have to worry about. You can get past. So, talk to me a little bit about what you do with, the properties once you have them. What do you do with them? Are
Well,
you
what?
do you just buy them, or do you flip them, or do you fix them, and
Yeah,
how?
great question. So I do wholesale mainly most of my properties. And that I by that I mean a signing. But here recently in the last 6 months, I have partnered with someone local that I know, and we have been closing on a lot of more properties to resell them. So We can flip them, and when we do flip them, I do not flip them. He has been flipping for over 25 years, and he takes control of all of that. I don't have any responsibility of the flip. My only responsibility is finding the deal.
Gotcha. So are you guys partners?
We're collaborators.
Okay, nice. I think that's pretty cool. So he has the experience of fixing, and you just find them. So you find them, he closes on them, and then sells them on the market. Is he the
Yeah.
one that's doing the selling, or are you?
No, we do. He is a broker, but he doesn't list them himself. He has agents that list our properties when we put them out like that, or we auction them. You
Okay.
know, so the first goal is when we look at a house. Let's say we're buying a house. The first thing we're thinking about is, should we assign it, or can we buy it and just resell it as is? Well, and that's what we want to do. Third option is flipping, but that's the last option. We only want to flip it if it's going to be a really good flip in a really good area.
All right. So you ask yourself, do you want to buy it? Do you want to, should you assign it? Or do you want to fix it if it's in a really classy area, right?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Melissa wants to know, how big is your mailing list? Like, how many, prospects would you have in order to be able to do the kind of business you're doing? And how many deals are you doing per month, let's say, or year?
Okay. On average, I'm doing like 2 or 3 deals a month.
Nice.
And my mailing list, I'm not mailing a lot. So it's a probate, and my probate's not a big list. And I'm going through that list and calling and texting first. So I'm making the list even smaller when I mail. So right now in my deal machine database, I think I only have around 6 or 7,000 properties. So the way that I like to do it is, let's say I mail someone this week. I'm not going to mail that person again for another 2 months, and then I'm going to, it's just a process. Once I get through these 6 or 7,000 and I've mailed them 3 or 4 times, I'm going to move on to new people. And during this time, I am adding in small probates, like maybe 100 a week,
Okay.
But it's not a very big list because I'm in a small place. If you're in a bigger city, you're going to have to mail a lot more people.
Right. But it is kind of nice that to know a little bit about volume, like what the numbers look like.
Yeah.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about. Okay, so I have a few pictures I'd like to go through, and also I want to touch on auctioning. So, which order would you like to do it in?
We can go over the pictures first, and then we can go over
Okay.
auctioning.
All right, then bear with me. Okay, and I'm not sure if I have them in the right order. So if I don't, just let me know. What are
Okay.
we looking at? It looks like a nice home.
Yes. So this house was owned by the same family for 100 years.
Wow.
Yes, it was a very emotional house for them to sell. So the lead came in for free through Google My Business. I met her, and she just connected with me. She said she had other people that come to look, and no one talked to her like I did. Everybody was judging the house, telling her everything that was wrong with it. And I was asking questions about her and what she wanted. So obviously I stuck out. It was a follow-up process. It took 2 months, I believe. During the process, she backed out of the contract with us. Like, she called and said, "I'm not doing this. This is a family house. I can't let it go for this price." It was so low to her. She wanted $80,000, $75,000, and my offer was 40,000. And I told her, I always tell my sellers that it's possible you can get your price if you list it on the market or if you sell to another buyer. I'm not able to tell you what another buyer will pay for it. I can only tell you what I am willing to pay for it. And I'm only willing to pay for it at a price where I can make money no matter what I do with it. So she finally decided, you know what, Travis, I'm just going to take the deal. She's from Virginia living there, and she had been living in this house for 2 months because of a water leak, and she was afraid to go back home because she was afraid it was gonna happen again. So she was like, "Travis, I'm just gonna sell it." So she, we bought it for $40,000. Going to the auction, like we were telling you, I went ahead and auctioned it. And when we auctioned it, it ended up selling for $90,000. And we didn't do anything to it except fix the back deck you can see there. There was the part of the deck that wasn't like, we were afraid if people stepped on it that they would like get hurt if it fell. So we
Okay.
fixed the deck and that's it.
Wow.
And it was
So you did a minimal amount of work
yes,
and you basically made 50K on that.
in less than 90 days, yes.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, that deal this year was my first. Okay. So I had never done a deal that big before. That was the first deal I ever did that it was that type of number. So it was exciting. Definitely since it was a free lead and it came to me through Google.
Yeah. Yeah. It must have been interesting for her to, realize the burden of a house, because there's nothing like water, and except for wind and storms like that, that can damage
Yeah.
the property, and you're seeing it being hurt and you're panicking. You got to get somebody, you got to be fixed. Was it fixed properly? So she probably felt a little bit trapped by the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was she the only person left in that familiar line? Or were
Yeah.
there other people who wanted it?
There were no one else. There was no one else who wanted it. She did have kids,
Mhm.
but her kids were in Virginia and California. They're not here in West Virginia. So it was just setting, and she knew it was time. I mean, 100 years is a long time, to have a house in your family.
It is. It is a long time, but that's also a lot of memories too. So
Yes.
I can get that. So Victoria is asking, do you send emails? She's got a bunch of owners' emails, and she doesn't know what to do with them. So can you talk to that?
Yeah, so when I get my online leads, like when someone fills out a form on my website, they put their email. That is the only time I reach out via email. So I'll call them, no answer. I'll text them, no answer. My next thing is email them using the email that they leave. But if I would like skip trace a list and it comes back with emails, no, I've never reached out to people like that.
Never at all? Like, why not? Talk to us about the thought process.
Well, the chances of your email being ignored or hit as spam are very high. And I don't know. I've never done it. If I'm gonna cold call you, or I'm gonna text you, or I'm gonna send you mail. That's what I do. Now, agents, I have emailed agents, and I have had great responses emailing agents cold emails.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, because email, like if you are in a business like a realtor,
Yes.
your boss expects you to check your emails. So you're going to see things. But if you're in real life, especially if you're in some sort of trauma, email is not where you're going to go. It's
No.
not like, oh, I got to go into my email. It's not what you're doing. You're usually kind of ignoring that sort of thing. So I can see why for people, it might not be as valuable as it would be for agents.
Yes, and I put my email address on my postcards, and I have people email me all the time. So I would do that. If they want to email me, that's fine.
If they're reaching out.
Yes.
Because it's a very non-threatening way to reach out.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. This looks like a pretty nice brick home. What's the story with this one?
Yeah, so this was a divorce lead.
Okay.
This came to me through it was a PPC. This was a paid for lead, like a Google ad. And the guy contacted me and said him and his wife were divorcing. He never wanted to buy the house to begin with. He hates the neighborhood. The only reason he bought it was because his wife wanted it. He wanted property in a small cabin. So he was a VA. And because of his VA loans, he could only have one VA loan at a time. So he needed this VA loan off of his off of his report. So he was like, Travis, you can have it for payoff. As long he's like, I don't want $1. I don't care. Just take it. My wife will sign. We want to be done with it. And then the next day I'm going to go and get my VA loan. So we ended up, I wanted to buy this one. And me and my partner we were really, really considering it, but the after repair value is a little higher than what we're used to, even though it's in a great area. So we wholesaled it. We made a quick like $15,000. It was nothing great, but it was I mean, he just let it go, you know.
Yeah,
I
I hear
I
you.
always tell people, you know, just because most people think, oh, it's a divorce, it's going to be harder to get both people to agree. That's
Mhm.
not always the case. I've done
Was she
multiple
amenable?
divorces this year.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Was the wife amenable to letting it go?
Oh yeah, she was fine.
Okay,
She wanted to buy it, but she didn't have the means, and she knew she didn't have the means, so she let it go.
got it. Interesting. Interesting. And how did he come to you?
Just he
Oh, from the
filled out
paid
an
leave.
online lead.
Okay,
Yep.
got it. This is pretty.
Yeah, this is my favorite one.
I like it. It's very nice. What's the
So
story?
so this one is a very interesting story. So this was also this actually came through YouTube. So my guy that I collaborate with, David, he has a YouTube channel that he hasn't done anything to in years. He hasn't updated it, hasn't dropped a video. Well, so,
No videos, nothing up there?
I mean, there's videos on there, but they're years old. Okay. So these sellers here don't have Facebook. They don't do that. But they have YouTube. So they just stumbled across his YouTube, found his website, and filled out a form. So he calls me and he's like, Travis, these people want to sell. You should call them. So I called them, set up an appointment. I walked in their house and they were sitting at the door was open and they were sitting at their kitchen table, just sitting there. They said, come sit down. I didn't even look yet. I didn't even walk through the house and they want me at the kitchen table. So I know they mean business. We sat there for an hour and a half and talked about everything but the house. We talked about how he was in the war of Iraq. I mean, just we had a long conversation.
Wow.
Led into they just wanted to be done with it. I even told them this is exactly what everybody wants. It's a 2017 double wide on a permanent foundation on 2 acres in West Virginia. This is what people want. It's like listed on the market. Don't let me take your profit. Travis, we just don't want to deal with it. We
Why
just don't want
not?
to deal with it.
Did
I
they
said,
say why?
I said, why not? Why don't you want to deal with it? And they were just like, we just want to be done. My mom had a house and it was vacant for a little while and people broke in and destroyed it. And they ended up having to sell it for like way lower than it was worth. And we're afraid that's going to happen. They were afraid if they left that place empty, somebody was going to destroy it. And
Interesting.
we ended up buying it and we made $77,000 from it.
77,000.
$77,000.
Shoot.
We bought it and we put it up on the market with a realtor, but the realtor posted it on a Friday and said on Facebook and said, we are going to put this on the market on Monday. And on Saturday, we had a cash offer,
Wow.
all inspections waived, no contingencies.
So what were the numbers like? Like, what did you pay for it? And what was
We
the,
paid here. Let me get you the exact numbers. Hold on.
that's amazing. That fast? Do you think that
Yeah.
you could have got more for it? Or do you think that, I mean, that's a lot of money.
I think that's the perfect scenario, and I don't think we would have been able to do any better,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. How
So,
can you complain, right?
yes.
Especially when, like Melissa says, his clone is still working. She's referring to the YouTube because Pace says, how do you clone yourself? You clone yourself by putting
Oh,
yourself
yeah.
out in YouTube. And this will be out there for a long time. So who knows when someone might see it and realize, oh, let me see if Travis is still in business or is he retired? Because if he's
Yeah,
in
yeah.
business, I want him to, represent me. I mean, the bottom line is you don't know. But once it's out there, it's out there. And all he had was a form.
Yeah.
$77,000
Yeah.
form.
We bought it for like 60,000 and sold it for 149, 150, something like that. After the realtor's cost, 77,310.56.
Okay, so that's the kind of check you have to take a picture of.
Yeah, that's
Cash
a
it
lot.
first, but then definitely get a picture and then you can show it, frame it.
Yeah, and there's more. There's so many of those around, I've learned,
Yeah.
because people will always, and that's why wholesaling will always exist, because people will always trade their equity for speed and convenience. I'm the pawn shop of real estate, is what I tell everyone. That you can take your belongings to the pawn shop and get a certain amount, but you can take it elsewhere to get more. But you take it to the pawn shop for speed and convenience, and that's what I offer people, that service. And I think when I explain that to them, it helps them understand.
I like that. The pawn shop of real estate. That's cool.
I got that from Tom Kroll. He is
Okay.
the co-founder of Wholesaling Inc.
Nice. Very nice. I like it. Wow, that's quite a story. What's this one about? It looks like it's fall,
Yes.
almost in winter.
So that's a half an acre of land that had a really old mobile home on it. This was another free lead. It came through Facebook. I post in local Facebook groups that I buy houses and land, and this was a message that I received. She wanted $15,000 for it, and
15.
I offered $2,500 for it, and she told
Why?
me she told me no, and we ended up agreeing at 6,500. And I had a buyer for it, and I was supposed to make $3,500, but we found out the seller lied and that the mobile home didn't have a title. So
Oh.
yeah, so I bought it anyway. The buyer backed out, and I bought it for 6,500, paid the closing costs, put it up for auction, and I sold it for 17,500
Um,
within 30 days.
wow. Okay. Um, so I'm kind of curious when she's wanting 15 and you actually were able to sell it for 17.5, but you started her at 2.5. Are the prices in that area for that type of a home just that inexpensive? Or did she just, like what was the story on that?
Yeah, so this is actually a really good area, but for the type of property it is, like that mobile home needs to be taken out of there. So I'd say if that mobile home wasn't there, that would be, and it's still very low values, but I'd say it's worth 35 grand, 40 grand, um, once that mobile
For the
home's taken
land.
out.
For the
Yeah.
land. Interesting.
I
Very
like to go after, a lot of people say don't they for bigger fees go after houses that's more expensive. But I've learned that even with cheaper property, if you offer low enough, you can still pull out those bigger checks.
Yeah, I should say. Here you were, you made over what was that? 14? No, a little less.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
It was
Not
just a
bad at
quick
all.
little deal,
Nice.
for a
Nice.
free lead.
Hmm. That's a pretty house.
Yeah, so this house is in the hood.
In the
Um,
hood.
yeah, this house is in the hood. It's a historic area, but it's not the best area.
It's funny
And
how the steps go up. They didn't remove
yeah,
the original steps. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. I
you
don't know
better
why
not
they
be
did that.
drunk when you're going home because you could go up the wrong side of the steps and hit yourself on the banister there.
Yeah, yeah, you could. We This house on the inside was in pretty good shape. I mean, it's pretty much rent ready. Um, this was an online lead, came through. They filled out a form on our website. We called them, went to look at it. Within 30 days, we had it under contract for 20,000. We bought it, we purchased it, and then a week later we resold it for 37,000.
What did you do to it?
Nothing.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is if you approach people and say, I'm a wholesaler, I need to make money on this property, you're likely to do much better than if you say, I'm an end buyer.
Oh yeah, I tell people because like this is a wholesale property, even though I didn't assign it because I bought it wholesale, didn't do anything to it, and resold it. So I tell everybody I know I meet, every seller I talk to, hey, I'm a wholesale buyer. I'm looking to purchase wholesale price, and I explain the difference. Like for example, you have Walmart, then you have Sam's Club, right? Walmart, you're going to have prices that's a little bit higher. Sam's Club might be cheaper because you're getting quantity. Well, I buy houses in quantity, so I get them cheaper. So I'm looking for something like that. Does this house sound like something that I'm looking for? That's what I say to them. I let them tell me if their house is a good fit for me.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. Because then at least you don't have to convince them on anything. You're just telling them the differences. And,
Yes.
like, what is it? Is it Sam's Club or is it a Walmart?
Yeah. And I don't like to play mind games and manipulate people. I shouldn't have to get you to convince me of anything. I'm here to be an option for you. And if I'm the best option for you, let's roll. If not, I'll do whatever I can to help you.
One of the things I'm picking up here, Travis, as well as the fact that you are honest on these things, is the convenience. It does seem to be pretty quick.
Oh yeah, yeah, we can get closed. Really, the only holdup with us is where we're in a slow place and the attorneys are slow.
Oh,
That's usually what takes us the longest.
because they're so busy.
Yeah, they're so busy. They got so much houses and contracts they're working on.
That's funny. But otherwise, I guess your collaborator has some cash and they're good to go.
Yes, yes. I haven't had to use like private money yet, but I have that accessible to me as well. So it's a pretty fast, convenient for West Virginia. 30 days is pretty quick to close. So if
Okay.
you can close within 30 days, most people are happy.
Okay. All right. So
And
again,
you
it
just
depends
and
on
you
your
just have
market.
to make sure you have an inspection period on those contracts so you can back out if you need to.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, okay. This does not look like a winner.
Yeah, it wasn't one.
I'm sorry. That's so funny.
It
What
wasn't.
happened
I
here?
had
What's
to put
going
this
on?
one in here because it wasn't a winner. I didn't lose on it, but I didn't win much. Um, so I looked at this. So last December, November, and I offered like $2,000. They wanted $25,000, and they told me no. They told me They just told me no, flat out. But the basement didn't look like this. It was dry.
Oh,
So I follow up 6 months later. Hey, they listed it, but it didn't sell on the market. I noticed that it was a failed listing. So I reached out to them and said, hey, what's going on? I'm still interested. Will you take my offer? They took the offer. I sent over a contract. I went over there to meet them to get a lockbox put on it. And I walked in the basement, and that's what I found.
and you'd bought it already.
So I got it under contract already. Yes. And I was like, you guys didn't tell me this. And they're like, oh, well, we didn't know, and
Oh, yeah, the "we didn't
yeah.
know" line.
So I put the lockbox on it, told them bye. They left. I was standing in front of the house and I was just staring at it. And I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to cancel. I look over and I seen the neighbor was sitting down smoking a cigarette on his porch. And he was looking at me and I was looking at him. He said, hey, you buying that? I said, I don't know. I didn't realize it was, the condition it's in. I said, why? Do you want to buy it? He said, yeah, I do. He said, I was trying to buy it when it was on the market, but I could never get a hold of anyone. And I told him, well, I got it under contract right now for this price. If you give me $2,000 extra, you can have it. So they went under contract with me, and I sold it to the neighbors for $2,000 instead of canceling on it. And they're just going to tear down the house and extend their property.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's sweet. Okay, I was trying to figure out why would they take on a basement like this? Yeah, if you're going to scrape it and enlarge your own yard,
Yes.
you're like, good.
Yeah.
People can't be as close to me. I can later build on because it's a separate lot. I could see where there's a lot of advantages for that, but otherwise, I don't know what you do. Yeah, I
Na-
agree, Pansy. That is pretty sweet. So
neighbors pay the most.
the neighbors paid the most?
Yeah, yeah. That anytime you have a deal, I'm telling you, go knock on the neighbor's door and ask them if they want to buy it, or send them a letter or skip trace them. I promise you, a lot of them will want the property or try to. Or
Interesting.
if they don't want it, at least they'll tell you everything you need to know about it. Yeah. Neighbors
Where
will
the
try to
bodies are
ruin it.
buried. I saw them burying over there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. When after I had moved into one home in a very uppity area in Boston, someone told me that they thought, something was buried in the backyard. She didn't want to know what, but she wanted it exhumed. And I was like, holy shit, So I bullied my husband into going out there in the dark of night because I didn't know what we'd find. And I was worried that, we'd have crime scenes and this and that. And it was a cat. Someone had buried their cat. And I thought, oh, okay. But she had caught sight of it and had never forgotten it. And it always bothered her. So it was kind of funny. But yeah, I agree, Susan. And it's nice to see you, by the way. Thank you for being here. Travis, you're a very good storyteller. You're a very good storyteller.
Thank you.
And you have interesting stories. And just to make sure I understand, this one you bought for $2K and you sold for $2K.
Well, no, I actually ended up, I think I offered $2K, yeah, but I think I ended up getting it under contract at like $5K is what I ended up agreeing to him on. Yeah.
Had you seen the basement at that point?
No, I didn't see the basement. I thought I could sell it for like 15,000, and then I seen the basement and I knew nobody was going to pay that. So the neighbors were really my only shot. And
Yeah.
as far as the stories go, I got so many of them. I mean, I've been bit by dogs. Pit bull, had a hold of my foot one time, and I have a pit bull. I'm not against pit bulls. It was the owner's fault, but it didn't hurt me or anything. But I've been through a lot with these houses.
You have a pit bull.
Yes.
You're at a property and another pit bull has your foot in his mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you do?
Well, what happened was there was a fence, and I didn't notice a sign of any dog. I just seen the fence. So I opened up the fence, and as soon as I stepped my foot up on that step to go into the house, a pit bull just runs around the corner of the house and grabs a hold of my shoe, starts pulling at my shoe, and I'm just like, oh no, what am I going to do? I'm not going to hit it or anything. And then they came out and they got the dog off of me, and luckily it didn't go through my shoe. I must have had some strong shoes on. I don't know what they were. I should have, but yeah.
I would have had them bronzed.
Yeah, it was.
Would have said, save my leg or my foot.
I got lucky.
That's funny. That's so funny. It's also nice to hear you say that you didn't want to hit the dog because you probably could have had that dog euthanized.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, if he's going to do that to you, the problem is he could do it to a child.
Yeah, yeah.
Or to another person who doesn't know how to handle it. And that's not okay. It's not okay for owners to have that.
That's the reason why pit bulls have that that's how people look at them that way. Yeah, because of that. Because my pit bulls are loving, because they have a loving home. I love on them. That's what they know. But that pit bull obviously didn't know that, and didn't know love. It knew aggression.
Oh, that's sad. That's very sad.
I've been followed through houses by elderly sellers with baseball bats. Yeah, like I guess they had trust issues of showing strangers homes, and I'm 5'6", 120 pounds. I'm like, I'm sorry, sir, but you're even at 80 years old, you could probably take me.
So they're showing you their property, but they have a baseball bat.
Yeah, right. I've been in some bad areas. One of the first when I first worked with the flip company, one of the first houses I looked at, I was shadowing another acquisition manager, and he was an ex-military, ex-cop, and he always carried a pistol. And it was like an episode of Cops. Like, he had to run in this house with his gun drawn, and I was just standing there. I mean, yeah. So this business really can be like rough, you know. You just have to know that you have to watch your surroundings when you're going to these houses. You need to make sure you're talking, have a conversation with people on the phone. You know, don't just say, "Oh yeah, you want to sell? Let's meet." Talk to someone for a little while. Get an understanding of how they are, because you can tell a lot on a phone conversation if someone might not be there all the way. Because it is dangerous, especially for women. I mean,
Yes, I agree.
realtors, get murdered and
Yep.
kidnapped all the time.
Yep. When I first moved to Chicago, I put out in sub 2 that, hey, I want a homestead, guys. Help me find a homestead. and I won't name them, but one of our students said, oh, I have a property. It looks pretty good. It's out in that area and it's empty. Let's go take a look at it. I said, okay. And we did. And it needed a lot more work than I was prepared to put in. But we looked at the main floor, we looked at the upstairs, and then I said, oh, let's go down and see the basement. And, and as we're going down the basement, I said, oh, look, the door to the basement is broken. And he goes, oh, there might have been people, squatters in here. And I said, oh, okay. I said, hello, is there anybody here? Because I'm an idiot, right? And I'm like, we're here to look at the house. And all of a sudden, I hear this guy going, I have a gun.
No.
and the student, the realtor, he almost pushes me down
Oh
to get
my.
past me and get out of there. And I was like, hello, I'm still here.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
so funny. It was so funny. I mean, I just started laughing. I said, don't worry, we're not coming down. And I went upstairs and I was like, wow, you're very brave.
Here-
It was
Here's
hysterical.
2 rules of going into a vacant house. 2 very important rules, okay? 1, as soon as you open the door, yell, "Is anybody here?" like you did, okay? 2, never open a refrigerator.
Oh, that was the other mistake.
Yeah,
That was
don't
the other-
ever open the refrigerator in a vacant house.
Oh
Oh,
my God, that was the other mistake. And like I said, we went through the first floor and we hadn't opened the fridge. And then we went to the second floor. And on the way down to the basement, I said, why is the fridge plugged in? That's a waste of electricity. He goes, I have no idea. And I opened the fridge and we just about fell over. And we were like, well, let's get this finished. Let's go down to the basement. And that's when I started, because he said maybe we hadn't noticed that there was a break-in. But yeah, I was glad. I was kind of glad I wasn't by myself, but it would have been nice if he hadn't pushed past me
yeah.
to get out,
He'd at least pulled you with him,
Exactly. So, that is kind of funny, to say the least. I would like to touch on this thing you said about auctioning, because you said that you have auctioned a couple of places. And tell us how that works.
Yeah, so auctioning is a great strategy. It's a dispo strategy. So these auctioneers are listing these houses on the traditional market. So they're still getting put on the MLS, but the difference is they're putting on other MLSs, like, in different states. So a broader base of buyers are looking at these cash deals, and it's a process.
But they're all on MLS through the auctions?
Right. So it's still listed on the MLS because these auctioneers are brokers, and all of their agents are underneath them that help sell these properties. So, you do a deal with the auctioneer. Every auctioneer is going to be a different price to sign up with, like it might be $1,500 and that's all you're paying, and they auction it for you, and then what happens is they just market your property on the MLS for a certain period of time. So let's say 60 days, then they auction it. Then the highest bidder wins. The first
Do
house,
you have a minimum that you say, I'm not going to let it go any lower than this or not?
two options. You can pay that fee that I'm telling you about, and
Mhm.
you set your reserve fee. So you set a reserve, and it does not go below that reserve unless you get an offer. You can decide if you want to, or
Okay.
there's the absolute auction. Absolute, it'll go for whatever it bids for. There's nothing you can do about it,
And it doesn't cost you a fee?
and it doesn't cost you a fee.
So no fee, but you could lose out in other ways.
Right, yeah, you lose. Like, I would do absolute, let's say, if I was buying a property for very cheap, like $500 or something, and I was just seeing what it could do, like very low risk, but anything like the blue house, the 100-year family house, we auctioned it, and we put a reserve of 70,000 on that one, the one that sold
Nice.
for 90.
Oh, nice. So if it hadn't, you wouldn't have lost. You would have kept looking to see where you could
Yeah.
possibly market it. Okay.
Right, so if it wouldn't have, let's say it would have went under 70, we would have either said, "Okay, we'll take that 70, or we're going to do another auction, or we're gonna take it off the auction, try to sell it ourselves, or do whatever we wanna do with it."
Okay. Okay. Interesting. And I just posted some of the auctioneers' sites on there. How did you come upon auctions? Because there were some people that had wanted to, you know, they were talking about auctions, and I told them, hey, you should come. You might learn some things. How do you decide which auctioneer to go with, and whether you should put it on auction or whether you should still market on your own? How do you decide that? And how
Okay.
long you said 6 months you've been doing auctions?
Well, I started with auctions about a year ago, but it was because a buyer that I knew. So I would find creative finance properties, and I would sell them to this buyer that I knew. And I came across one, and he took it, and he decided he wanted to auction it, and he wanted to know if I would wait to take my payment after it auctioned, if I would get more.
Oh, I see.
So so I was like, well, I've never auctioned anything before. I'd like to learn the process. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So he did it, and he didn't do great with it, but he sold it. And then he started to do more and more. And he was like, Travis, you gotta do this. So that's why I started to do it, from experience, just from somebody that I knew.
Mm.
That's why I chose these people that, that I use. But if I was starting somewhere else and I didn't know much about a market, what I would do is I would look up on the market, and I would look at all the auction houses. So it'll say brokered by so and so auction service. Okay.
Oh, you
So
mean like when the auction goes on, it says
yeah,
brokered by, and then you
yeah.
see the auctioneer?
Yeah, so like on the MLS, it'll tell you who the auctioneers are. So I would go on my local MLS, and I would start writing down all of the auctioneers' names and how many they had listed. Then I
Mhm.
would look at the sold and see all the ones that sold. Then I would compare. Well, this one sold 5 auction houses last week. This one sold 20. This one sold 30. I'm probably going to go with the one that's selling the most properties, you know,
'Cause it
um,
probably is drawing the most amount of, um
activity.
exactly.
Yes. And the biggest buyer bases. So that's what I'm looking for, is who has the most buyers.
Mhm.
And it's probably the people who did the most sales in the last 6 months.
Okay. And then, you're recommending that you do the $1,500 fee or whatever the fee is.
Whatever their fee would be for the reserve, I would recommend that.
Okay.
And the way that we choose if that's what we're going to do with it is typically the price range. So I have an agent that works not for me, but works for the auction agency. So whenever I get a contract and I'm thinking, do I want to assign it? Do we want to buy it? I send it over to him, and I'm like, "Hey Keith, how you doing? I got this contract today. Will you go look at it and tell me what you think it might auction for?"
The actual property.
Yes, he goes, takes a look at it, gets back to me. Travis, this is what I think we can do with it. Then I might take that same contract, send it to a couple buyers that I know. Hey, where do you guys think you might be on this? And then if Keith is telling me that the auction is going to get more than Joe, the buyer, told me, then I'm probably going to choose the auction over just assigning it. But if
Okay.
the buyer that I'm assigning it to that I know is going to tell me a very close range, I'm just going to take his offer. Because the thing about the auction is I have the local buyers, but I don't have all the out of state buyers. So that's what the auction provides.
And how do they do the auction? Do they go out to the house or is it just the picture and
They do two ways. You got two options. It's like a menu of auction services. So they're like, you
the
pay this
menu of
amount.
auction services? I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So you pay this amount, you can do an online only. You pay this amount, you can do online and in person. But sometimes, depending on the property, like right now, we have a piece of junk house. That's what I call it, a piece of junk. We bought it for $4,000, and we're going to auction it. And I'm sorry, I got lost on my train of thought once I said that the $4,000. What was the question? What was I saying?
How do they do the auctioning? Do they
Okay,
go
okay.
to the house?
So
Do they just show it
yeah,
online?
well, something like that. He might say, Travis, this one's better off just for online. But the blue house, the family house, the 100-year-old family house, he was like, yeah, you got to do that one in person and online. So it depends on the area.
And when it's in person, what does that mean? Does it mean that they open it up an hour before the auction and people get to go through it? And
Yep.
then right then and there, they auction?
Yep. They got the gavel out, the neighborhood's out watching, everybody. It's a big entertainment show.
Do they take online auctions at the same time as that?
Yes.
So then there's somebody standing with an iPad or whatever and yelling out, "Oh, I've got $5,000 more," whatever.
Yes. So the
Okay,
blue
that does
house,
sound like entertainment.
it is. So
You
my
should film one of those.
So my partner David, he's been selling and buying houses for over 25 years, and he said that was one of the most exciting house sales he's ever experienced.
Nice. Nice. Well, I would love to have seen that. And he should have filmed it and put it on his website, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, yeah.
Did he get his website to be, I mean, his YouTube to be active after that?
No, he's I had him posted on Facebook, and he went viral and did like almost 1 million views. And
Wow.
he started because he's very educational, and he's older and he's got a lot of wisdom, and people like that. And he started reading the comments, and it was just too much for him. It was,
In what way?
well, he was reading some of it and it was getting to him. And then it started to be a lot to manage, and I think, it was just taking time away from what he wants to do and how he does his business.
I gotcha. Especially if you haven't been doing it. When I came into real estate with Sub 2 and Gator, I had been teaching ESL in Vancouver with international students, which means that when they leave, they still want to keep in touch with the teacher and other students. So, I was on Facebook, not YouTube, but I was on Facebook and had a lot of students following me. So I didn't feel the least bit overwhelmed by Facebook. I have felt overwhelmed sometimes by StreamYard, which is what we're using now, mainly because not once, but twice I have forgotten to press the go live button, which means we're talking, but nobody's seeing us.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm posting and all that. It's a little bit to manage, but I do find it's very worthwhile because I get to meet and interview. I knew you and I've always enjoyed you, but I'm learning more here because I get to ask whatever I want. So that's fun. And also the audience, right? It's fun to see who's in the audience. And now I have over 1,000. Hey guys, if you aren't following me, please follow me. Press subscribe and all that. I keep forgetting to do that stuff too, because I'm just not really into it. But I think it's still going to grow regardless. So that is pretty cool to say the least. I would like to say thank you very, very much. We're at our hour. If there are any other questions, this is your last chance to ask. We're about to sign off. Let me see. There might have been a question I missed. Yeah, one from Victoria. Since what are the questions on the form to fill out? The one that got the lead.
Okay, hold on a second. I'll tell you. I have a carrot site, and whatever it is just automatic for whatever carrot puts. So
Oh,
literally, they put in the property address, their phone number, their email. They click get my fair cash offer, and then it takes them to a step 2 where they fill out more information like about the condition and what's going on with it, but it's just a basic carrot submission form that they do.
got it. Got it. Okay. Well, that's good to know. And of course, you could also go to his site. Thank you, Jim. Nice to see you. Hi, Amy. Thanks, guys. And Melissa says, yeah, I think the auction thing is interesting. So thank you for that. And we are ready to sign off. So now I'm going to play the outro. I think. All right. Yeah. Signing off, guys.